Hi, this is Sergeant Beast Larson. Welcome to CO Life Part 8. 8 already, called Visitation. I'm comparing the CO life, the correction officer life, and how this affects them, visitation, in state prisons and the county detention, county jails. Let me start with the county jails. Their visitation is set up where there's rooms and there's a lot more phone visitation, video visitation than moving them out. Inside the dorm, there's several phones. There's your video phones across the wall. So a lot of the times their visit is not person to person. There's some exceptions. There's some places that do that, but they're small rooms. Just a few people at a time get to go out, and the visitation is different days of the week than what it is in a prison. They may have some days during the week and then some time on the weekend. But they primarily use that video visit. That's the biggest thing. The county, two things that are really, really big on that video visit, but the same as this on a state level, they get monitored. You have to watch for gang signs. You have to watch for, and this gets reviewed by intelligence groups, admitting to crimes, talking to their family members, friends about committing crimes, giving hits, saying, hey, this officer did this, I got a hit out on them, find out where they live, find out where their wife and kids are, they go to school. Those are the important things. And that doesn't happen as much on a county level as it does in a state prison or a federal prison. The guys doing life tend to have a lot more urgency and need for revenge. Remember, the county guys, they're short term. They're waiting for court dates to get released, to get assigned to programs, a halfway house, or just sent to a rehab place, or some of them are going to the prison. So on that good behavior thought, they have a lot more time for phone calls and video visits, so they relish that opportunity to have that. So I'm not going to just say a whole lot about that. Now, visitation for us on the prison level is a whole different thing. That's only on holidays and weekends. So primarily it's a Saturday and a Sunday thing. Now, they can go both days, and there's times that they may have different family members at different times. And the visitation schedule is after breakfast, and it goes till 3 o'clock for us down there. And the inmate may have parents visit in the morning, go back to the dorm, and then have, other member, a spouse, or the children, somebody else that's on the approved visitation list come in the afternoon. That's happened, with some inmates. They would have regular. And to them, that's a big thing because that's their only connection really to the outside world. They're inside many fences and buildings, and they're not seeing anything. They're kind of out there in the country, in the prison, lost. And a lot of them mentally and emotionally will become lost pretty quick. For visitation to go, to call, they come in through the front gate, they go through the approved checklist, everything's verified. They go through a metal detector screener, come through. If any clothes are inappropriate, can't come in tank tops, spaghetti strap, low blouses, short skirt, none of that stuff. And men can't dress inappropriate to come visit their men inmates. They can't wear super tight clothing, either men or women. No, none of that stuff. And there's a lot of rules. Nobody under 16 without an adult. You can't be 14 and come see mom and dad at a prison. You've got to have adults with you. So it's very controlled. They would come in, the family members would come in, we'd call down to the dorm. And as a CERT member, I spent a lot of time working visitation on the weekends. Breakfast, go to visitation, be at visitation until 3 o'clock, go serve dinner chow. Whole 12-hour shift is serving 2 meals and doing visitation. Life of a CERT member. But you call the dorm, I may call A1 and say, hey, I've got visitors for inmate so-and-so. He's in A1 bed, or cell, whatever. There's rules about what they can bring up, no watches, no jewelry, except for a wedding ring, religious medallion on a chain. I'm not going to go through that whole list, that's lengthy. They had to be state dressed. One of the big things that we dealt with was tennis shoes. You can't wear tennis shoes. You have to wear your state boots unless you have, your little card that says you've got a doctor. It's like a doctor's note. It's a medical waiver. So if they didn't have that, we'd send them back. If they didn't come appropriate, we'd send them back. When they would get to the visitation after being escorted up by the dorm officers, the CERT guys or the supervisors that were in there would strip search them in the back of the bathroom to make sure they don't have contraband or weapons. You can't having your visitation inmates attacking people with weapons. And you don't want them to have contraband. You don't want them to have notes, like hit notes, gang instructions, crime instructions written down. So you're searching them, you search their pockets, they're strip searched. So they learn they don't bring this kind of stuff up. They might whisper and talk, they might mumble, and secrets, you're not going to stop that. So you make sure that everybody coming in and everybody coming to visit as they meet, you want it to be a good positive. And they all know, they knew my name, they knew my reputation, everybody knew I was Sergeant Beast Larson. But when it came to visitation, I would strip search them, one at a time. They'd line up. When they got done, and I always told the inmates, have a great visit with your family. And I made it a point to make sure that they knew that I felt like visitation was important. I didn't have the opposite attitude like, okay, you got 2 hours to see your family and hurry up and get out. I wasn't like that. I would tell them, I hope you have a good visit. And then when the visitation was done, well, while they're in visitation, if they need to go to the bathroom, we have to go back, stand in a room while they're going to the bathroom. Then they go back in with their visitors. We had to, in state prison, monitor their behavior. No loud language, no nothing, no contact. When they come in, they can have a quick hug and that's it. One quick kiss and that's it. Step back. They sit opposite each other with a table in between. That's for obvious reasons. We don't want violence and we don't want sexual activity in the room in front of everybody. There was no conjugal visits at our state. And I say that shaking my head and pause with a frown because inmates should, in any state, I don't believe they should never have conjugal visits. I'm totally against that. You go to prison, you lose out on everything. So when visitation got done for us, one of us, we'd have at least 2 of us in there. One would go back with him and do a strip search. Once that strip search was done, I would ask him, hey, did you have a good visit? You looked pretty happy today. I'd be positive with him. That visitation time is the only time during the week probably for a lot of inmates that they see and hear any positivity. The rest of it is inmate life. It's hard time. So use that opportunity when you can to shed something positive. That positivity goes a long way because they remembered me. Hey, I remember a visitation, man, and they'll come and tell me Tuesday or Wednesday. I didn't get to tell you, but my family told me this, and they're excited. I would congratulate them. Or they'd say, hey, I finished my GED. I told my family, and they're very proud of me. And I tell them, hey, I'm proud of you too for getting your GED. Just because you work in a prison doesn't mean you have to be negative and cuss at the inmates all day long. Show that you are a positive person in yourself, that you are a positive influence, that you're a happy officer, happy supervisor, administrator. Shed some positivity back towards them. Give them some hope, because by giving them hope and shedding light on the good side of life means less things they're going to do on the bad side. Less violence, less gang activity, and they tend to gravitate towards better friends. You are the company you keep. That is true even in a prison. You keep the right company in prison, you'll be protected, but you also have the right company, you'll have a happier rest of your life. Because if you got life without, you're going to live in there for 40, 50, 60 years until you're the oldest old-timer and you pass. So think about their side of this for a little bit. It's not sympathy or empathy. That's not what I'm saying. Just show a little human compassion is probably the best way I can describe it. Don't need to yell at them and upset them before visitation. Don't need to yell and upset afterwards. Now here's some negative. We did have some inmates fight, yes. We tried not to spray chemical agent in visitation, but it's happened. We've tased people in front of the other family members. And if an incident like that happens, then, when you're calling on the radio, you're going to have people show up real quick. You'll get all the rest of your visitors to go out. They'll get them out and put them in the lobby somewhere and clear the area as fast as you can. You'll take and protect and secure the inmates involved, one or whatever, and then take them back to the isolation or wherever they need to go from there. We also had many times contraband passed from family to the inmate, and this was a big deal. That was the reason we had to strip search everybody and be very careful. Yes, I was positive and said, I hope you had a great time, but I did my thorough strip search and search of their clothing that they were wearing during visitation. And yes, they would suitcase a lot of things. They reach their hand in their pocket. Their pockets have holes in them, and it looks like they're just, putting a candy bar in their pocket. You know what suitcasing is. If you don't, that's where they hide contraband in the anal cavity. That's the best way to describe it. We use the word suitcasing. They'll put their hand in their pocket, and the thing will get stuck up there, and you're not going to see it. Even when they bend over, squat, and cough, you may not see what goes up there. These guys do this all the time. They're professional hiders of contraband in the anal cavity. So we go back to search. Some of them just in their pockets, in their socks, having drugs, meth, cocaine, marijuana, tobacco. And we go to take it, and they want to start a fight. And we had a lot of fights. We've had a lot of tasings in that bathroom area. A lot of, inmates going from wall to wall to the floor. A lot of things happened. A lot of use of forces back in there. But the inmates started all this by starting to fight with us while we were taking their contraband. Or they're refusing to give us the contraband. So there's a whole lot of that happening on a prison level. There's not a lot happening on a county jail level. So that's kind of just some similarities and some differences. Visitation is very important. It balances. It keeps their mood and their emotion on a good positive level. So if you start restricting visitation, or you start saying, hey, nobody visitation for a month, prisons are very careful. They hardly ever shut a whole weekend down. But if the prison's on lockdown, they will. But they've got people traveling for hours, 6 to 10 hours sometimes. Staying all night at a hotel, there's money involved. They may come up once a month and do this. So wardens, administrators in a prison are much more careful about totally restricting visitation. If it happens, they try and make that plan at least before Thursday. That way, they know the regulars, the people that are coming in, and they can send emails out to the families, hey, visitation is canceled this weekend. It will resume on this date. At the county level, when it's a lot more video visit, they can get on the video and video chat and talk like I'm talking right now to a screen. Do that all day. If they lose that for a day or two, whatever, it's not a big deal. But they get to talk to their family so much that a couple of days isn't that critical. When you're in prison and you've got one chance a week to see somebody and that's taken away, now it's 2 weeks without making sure their wife and kids are okay. Their husband is not okay, or there's a lot of relationship dynamics. There's parents, there's aunts and uncles, grandparents that are sick. They want to know about this. Yes, I did remind them, you wouldn't have to worry about visitation and talking to me if you didn't get put in prison. You got to remember, when you're committing crimes, you're risking giving everything up. They don't like that answer for about 5 years until that really settles in that they're doing life without. So that's kind of the difference. Hope this kind of gives you an idea. And I do this idea not to scare people, but to inform people and make you inquisitive and also curious. And if you're making decisions about working at a county jail or going to a state, listen to the series Life as a CO. Listen to what I'm saying. There's a lot more things that happen, good and bad, ugly, different, chaotic. Wait till we talk a little bit more about gangs and talk about suicides and other things. You'll see a whole lot more on a state level than you will at a county level. So hopefully this will help you make a decision which path in this career to take. In the state, they tend to have a lot more individual opportunities like a police department. You can get on tactical squads and CERT teams. You can get assigned to different details. Counties tend to not do that because the detainees come and go so quick. So it just depends on how you want to expand and how you want to grow. Prisons tend to have higher turnover. There's a lot more opportunity to advance and promotion. Keep that in mind. Well, we're about 15 minutes in. It's about time for me to go. Hit the like, hit the share button. Don't forget to subscribe. Post your comments about CO Life. Talk about visitation. Talk about anything posted on this video. Let us know. Thank you.